Good evening. Thanks you all for being here. It's my distinct pleasure this evening to have the opportunity to introduce you to each of our speakers, which I will do momentarily, but I just wanted to say a word about our format for the evening. We have 9 speakers. Each will make a presentation of about 8 to 10 minutes. There will be no breaks or intermission, but we very warmly invite you to come join us for a reception after the presentations are completed. So, without further ado, I would like to introduce our first speaker, Citlali Sosa-Riddell from the Department of History, and her presentation is entitled "The Californios, Telling Their Story, Keep Their Honor."
A great deal of history has been recounted through romantic tales and heroic fictions. A great example of this is the Mexican settlers of Alta California, known as the Californios. Now, where did these fictional stories come from? And how did they affect the identity of the Californios? Now, honestly, the Californios, there's much factual information that we actually know about them. And yet, the way that they've been remembered is through romantic stories. Now, as a historian, you might expect that what I'm interested in is separating fact from fiction. And yet, actually, I see it as my job, not so much to separate fact from myth, but to actually explore and understand the enduring impact of stories, because they are significant. So what do we know about the Californios? In 1769, Spanish settlers headed north into the Spanish colonial territory of Alta California. Together with Native Americans, the settlers in the next 65 years built the California mission system from San Diego to Sonoma. In the early 1800s, with independence, the new Mexican government decided they wanted to lessen the power of the Catholic Church. So they ended the mission system and confiscated the land, distributing it among the Californio families, creating a new rancho culture of elite and wealthy Californios. But this bump in status would actually be quite short-lived, because from 1848 to 1850, there was a major cultural and political shift. First, the ending of the Mexican-American War, the beginning of the California Gold Rush, and California achieving statehood. With all this having happened, in 1884, a fictional novel, Ramona, captured the imagination of thousands. The story was set in Southern California, right after the Mexican-American War. And it told the tale of a mixed-race Scottish and Native American girl who was adopted by a Californio family. For many, this was their first glimpse into a world that many people had only heard about. The author, Helen Hunt Jackson, wrote this novel because she was very concerned about the mistreatment of California Indians. In order to do the best job of telling her novel, she researched visiting Southern California from Ventura to San Diego. She documented the lives of the Californios and the Native Americans. Helen Hunt Jackson told a romantic tale of the Californios. She praised them for their religiosity. She highlighted how their homes were majestic. And she depicted this relationship between Native Americans and Californios that was quite loving. Now, something about this novel must have touched the masses, because by 1885, fans were flocking to Southern California on the railroads, hoping perhaps to get a glimpse of the fictional character of Ramona. Travel writers were also writing about Ramona, getting people excited, having them consider where the events had taken place, trying to find the real locations. Even the readers began to debate. They were trying to find where the real events had happened in a fictional novel. In 1887, fans learned that Helen Hunt Jackson had actually visited the Del Valle home, known as Rancho Camilos. And when they learned this, they wanted to visit. They began flocking there pretty regularly. People who lived in the Rancho Camilos area, locals and businesses, realized that pretty quickly they could make a profit from this. And the Southern Pacific Railroad also got in on the game. They created a stop at Rancho Camilos, and as many as 4 trains stopped there daily. For the family that lived there, the Del Valles, this proved to be a bit difficult. And it was difficult because of their sense of honor. For the Californios, to offer hospitality was central to their identity, and they couldn't turn anyone away. To do so would have been unseemly. The family estimated that in 1887 alone, they had 2,500 guests that they gave free food and lodging to. This actually caused a serious burden for them. And for the women among Californios, because in Californio culture, they too had a sense of honor. For them, it was significant that they had to be sequestered and away from the public eye. So to have all of these strangers suddenly coming to their homes, and some of them were men, really put their honor at risk. So by 1896, the Del Valle family decided to disallow anybody to come into their home and stop access to their rancho. The painful truth for the Del Valles was that they were actually very afraid that they could, lose their rancho and perhaps go through bankruptcy because of their sense of hospitality. Now, Helen Hunt Jackson had painted a beautiful picture of the Californios as these elite rancheros. And in so doing, she created a Ramona myth. And this Ramona myth took on a life of its own. And the enduring impact of that myth directly affected the lives of the Californios. The Californios had to find a way to alter their sense of honor so that they could deal with these changes. They decided that the best way to keep their sense of honor and to tell their own story was to become involved in California historical societies, where they told their own story. They also marched in civic parades, such as La Fiesta de Los Angeles, in which they dressed in their native regalia. And they also published their own novels and stories. Now, what's significant about the enduring impact of the Californios? And what does it tell us about fictional storytelling? Well, a romantic story or a mythical story may or may not be true, but is still significant. It can have a very real and very profound impact on people, just as it did for the Californios. Now, when I began this project, I didn't expect that a story, a fictional story, could be so vividly told that it would overshadow the truth. But that just goes to show you the power of a fictional story well told. It can change a people's sense of identity, culture, and even honor, just as it did for the Californios.